RWP is brought to you by Porch Beer Entertainment.
Definitely passed away just a few days ago. Thank you.
What was the name they asked for?
And that's how you handle it.
What was the name they asked for?
Stephanie Richardson. So
Stephanie Richardson. Have you gotten a Stephanie Richardson call before?
Hundreds. Stephanie, I think, must be a really common name. I don't think I've heard a last name like that before. But
what do you mean you haven't heard of a last name like that before? Richardson?
I mean, like, do I want an IPA or Michelob Ultra?
Tonight I'm drinking the Whoa Nelly from Lazy Dog. Not a sponsor of the show. Whoa Nelly. See? It's got a little horse on it going, whoa. Whoa Nelly. Have you ever ridden a horse?
Mm-hmm. We used to own a horse.
What do you mean?
In Colorado.
Oh, okay. That's different.
I grew up with one. His name is Kaufman.
Kaufman?
Well, technically, he was my sister's horse, but she used to ride competitively, like jumps and other, not dressage.
I believe they call that dressage.
I thought dressage was just the fancy horse dancing, where they're like,
the horse dance. Oh, you mean like the very like specific like prance that they do? No, I think
the like, and then they
what
sidestep.
is dressage? Let's look at it. It's a form of horse riding, in exhibition and competition. So no, it's probably that.
But it's not the jumps.
As well as an art sometimes pursued solely for the sake of mastery. It's like that's a weird description. Equestrian, dressage, everything you need to know about dressage. But yeah, I've never ridden a horse. I'm terrified that if I ride it, I'm gonna fall off and then they're gonna step on me. I'm gonna die because that happens. People die on horses.
They can sense fear. Like you got to be really confident when you go up to a horse.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm not even confident in my daily life. That's gonna be a problem.
Oh, dude, my cousin called me today and asked if I wanted to go up to Baltimore to get lunch with him and my uncle because he's coming in town from Oregon.
Okay,
this is the same cousin that
that you think is like me.
No, well, related to. So it's that guy's brother. So it's another cousin. Same family. They have 3 boys. This is a dude that hung out with Jake Gyllenhaal and helped out on the movie The Interpreter or whatever.
Okay.
About the Afghan interpreter who was going to be left behind when the military pulled out. So he was the military advisor on that film. Hung out with Jake Gyllenhaal for a while. He was in the Army, then became like a lawyer. And through that, he is really good friends with the Houston Astros legal counsel. Okay. And that person used to work in a whole bunch of different baseball firms. So they were a part of the Orioles at one point. They were Astros and maybe it's like Texas now or something, but they're good buddies. And so he got basically introduced to the GM for the Orioles. And so he's going to the playoff game this weekend.
Oh, nice.
With the general manager. So they'll just be in that box, which is so cool. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because there might be some celebs up there, That's
what I'm saying. I mean, his life is just insane.
That must be nice. My buddy's going to that game. Orioles, shout out to the Orioles. Rooting for them to win it all. That's my pick, my hot take, my pick. Before we get started, I've been meaning to tell you about this. So I had a high anxiety moment a few weeks back so I went to the bagel shop that's by my house. You've been there with me. And if you recall, the guy at the front register, he's not mean, but he's also not nice. Like he's very straight to the point. I can't hear you. You're muted again. It's funny how I can click a button that says ask to unmute. Do you mind unmuting? Thank you. Do you remember that guy?
He's not like a New York deli kind of guy, but it's kind of like it's matter of fact. It's like,
Yes, very matter of fact.
do you remember OG Burger?
Yes.
And the guy who was just like, okay, next,
Right.
next,
Right. Like,
next,
look,
and
like, I don't mind it because they're just like, they're not being mean, but they're also not being overly welcoming. So that guy, he's at the counter. I'm in line. It's a busy morning. It's like a Friday morning or something. It's a couple weeks ago. And I get to the register. I order my bagels. And then I reach into my wallet and I forgot that I had given Abby my credit card like the day before because she needed to do something. And I hadn't put it back in. And so for like a split second, so in reality, looking back, I could have just used like my check card, my debit card, whatever. But in the moment, I didn't even think of that. And so I start kind of freaking out because I didn't have cash on me.
you start like thinking about working in the back room.
And I start, I'm starting to get worried because he's told the bagel workers like to make these bagels. And then so I panic and I see like on the register, it's like Apple Pay as an option. And I'm like, do you take Apple Pay? And he's like, yeah, we do. And without, really thinking about it, the fact that I don't even know how to do Apple Pay. So suddenly
you don't have it set up?
I do now, but so I go to my phone
no.
and I'm like, all right, do I go to my wallet? And then I'm like, Apple Pay? And then I like scroll to that. And then it's like, you need to like register and do this and that. And I'm like, meanwhile, there's a line behind me. The guy's clearly like, come on, like, what are you doing here? And then eventually what I do is I just kind of, the next guy's placing his order and I just lean over and I say, you know what? I don't want to waste your time. I'm just going to go. And I was like, look, I'm sorry. I don't know how this works. I don't know how Apple Pay works. I don't want to waste your time or this gentleman's time. I'm just going to leave. And then I hear him yell to the back, like, 68, the two bagels or whatever they call it when they like stop doing an order. And
yeah.
I was sweating and panicking and I like sprinted to my car and I haven't been back to the bagel shop since.
I get the laser focus on I don't have the credit card, but like you've got like, you have a check card in there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm aware.
Nothing. So you immediately.
I didn't have cash in my wallet at the time. I do
saw
typically
that you didn't
keep
have
cash.
the one card, and then you were just like, all bets are off.
Yeah, until I saw I got sidetracked by the Apple Pay route. That was a road that I should not have taken because I had no idea what was required. I thought it was because I've like paid for stuff on my phone, like apps and stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, it'll probably work like that.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, is that you doing Apple Pay?
Yeah, just double click on the side, boom, and you're there. So double click your lock button.
I mean, it just shows Siri.
No, double click the lock button.
Okay, and then it just
Just
turns
the
on my
lock.
flashlight.
You are doing the volume button. I see you.
No, this is the lock button on the side.
No. Check this out, Jake. See?
Okay, right here. Well, I don't want to show my credit card on camera. Yeah, I mean, so it's there now. I think I have it set up now, but at the time I didn't, and I panicked, and it was terrifying.
That is, but you've never been back since?
I haven't been back.
I mean, is it just like you think he's just going to remember that, or
Yeah,
is it just trying to overcome that whole situation?
Well, it's already a pressure. It's like it is very much like I compare it to the Soup Nazi Seinfeld, where it's like you get to the counter, you have to give your order. You can't dilly-dally. It's like you got to place your order and you move on. And like that is how it works at this bagel shop. And it's like you don't want to be the guy that's like, what do I want? What do I want? It's like by the time you get to the counter, you have to say what you want and move on.
If you owned a restaurant, okay, so I'm on like both sides of it because it's like I myself have social anxiety about ordering in general, and like the very first time I went to Noodles and Company, I freaked out and just said noodles.
Oh, yeah, I remember this, yeah.
And they brought me buttered noodles.
Yeah, which it's funny that they have that as an option. I mean,
I know, right? But like,
it's for children.
I kind of, if I were running a business like that, I think I would want that too.
Yeah.
I would want people to be locked into their order. Like, if that means putting the menus up at the very front of the restaurant,
sure.
So be it. Like, not even behind. I don't even want the menus behind the counter.
Right.
I want someone to go look at a menu on a wall and then decide they're ready and get in line.
What drives me insane
it makes things fast.
Is when you're in the drive-thru at like a fast food restaurant and the person in front of you taking a long time to order. It's like how you've been to McDonald's before. You know what the menu is. It's been the same menu for 50 years. Like what could take so long?
90% of the people that are rolling through there at those odd hours,
yeah,
like you're there for one reason. You're gonna look at the menu for a little while and be like, okay, I'm gonna be bad. I'm gonna get a milkshake.
You
and
should
this other stuff
know
is-
in your head what you're getting on the drive to the restaurant because you've been there before. It's not like you've never been to a Chick-fil-A before. Like you
Yeah,
know what's on the menu.
it's not like you're in Chick-fil-A Taiwan where they have like
Right.
some kind of spaghetti on the menu or whatever. Some of those regional
Yeah,
franchises
some of the,
run a little
I
differently.
do want to do the I some of the I do want to travel one day and go because they say like yeah obviously you're going to eat the cuisine of the place, but one thing to try is you do go to like a McDonald's there because they do put crazy stuff on the menu. Those are always fun videos to watch
Yeah.
on YouTube. But we could talk about this all day. But I do it is time I think to settle in to yet another edition of the show you all came to see and hear and watch. It is the Bad Book Club, sponsored by Noodles and Company and the bagel shop across from my street.
It's so crazy. I'm hearing you in this one, and then I'm listening to my fantasy football podcast in the other one.
You're listening to another podcast?
I'm just kidding. No.
Okay,
Could
I
you
was like, that
imagine?
would be insane. Curves and Cradles, a Navy SEAL / One Night to Forever /
Is it
Curvy
bad
Girl
I
romance.
forget his name every time I
Kevin.
stop reading the book. Yeah,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Kevin and
Like
Jane.
Kevin.
And Kat Baxter is the author. If you haven't listened to the previous 2 episodes, we've covered chapters 1 through 10. And tonight, whenever you're listening to this,
Are we
are
closing
chapter-
it out?
No, we're going 11 through 15. There's enough here to fit an episode, and then there's definitely
there?
enough next
Okay.
to close it out. So we'll do 11 through 15 tonight. Chapter 15 is basically
Okay.
entirely just a sex scene, so there's not going to be a whole lot to talk about there. But
Yeah. So we left off where like she was just like he did like a week's worth of research on Google. He bought a car seat, and
right.
she's like, this guy is ready. He's
yes,
ready.
Kevin
to be a
is
dad.
all in now. Remember, if you recall from last time, again, Kevin impregnated Jane. He had no idea that he did that. Jane has like a 2.5-year-old baby, and Kevin comes back. He got injured overseas. He's back in
from
town.
the war.
They have sex in a school, which is illegal,
Oh,
and then
my God,
and she just
Kevin.
like disposes of the condom in her trash can next to her desk.
And
it's
staff again is not paid enough money to deal with high school kids.
It's a lot.
Finding condoms
He showed up to her
can.
house. She had a kid. He was like, "Oh, what are you babysitting?" And then he realizes that's his kid. He freaks out, runs away. Then he ends up coming back, and he's like, "All right, you know what? I want to be in your guys' lives." Blah blah blah. And as you said, he's starting to show that he deserves to be, at least in his mind, deserves to be part.
He's
of
showing that he's the dad that stepped up. You know,
he's stepping up. He is a Navy SEAL and
turned dad.
And he's a dad.
A daddy seal is what we call them.
Daddy seal.
In the industry. Yeah.
Or whatever the seal noises are.
Well,
Chapter 11. Jane's perspective here. 2 days later.
I don't mind the split, like every so often being like
split POVs.
Jane's perspective.
Yeah.
But it's like this. It's just weird because it still narrates Kevin's side, but like I don't know. It switches so much now that it's like you're reading 2 separate books.
The most confusing part is during the sex scenes because you're like, who's doing what to who?
Exactly.
You don't know. By the way, we did bring
it's
back the cringe cowbell.
What were we at last episode?
It was like 11 or something. It was a lot. I wrote it down, and now I don't know where I wrote it down. So we're starting afresh for this section here. So we're Jane's perspective. She's with Kevin. They are on the sidewalk, and she is like, "Hey, look, I'm gonna apologize for anything that might be said in the next few hours because apparently he's meeting her family." And she's like, "They're loud, they're
Big
crazy," and he says the line, "I fight terrorists for a living."
This is like the third. Okay, I get it. It's one of those professions where I guess you could casually say that. But I feel like if you were that guy that always said like, it's like, hey, can you help me with the trash? Take out the trash. I take out terrorists for a living. I think I can handle the
You can
trash.
use that for anything.
Like if you just say that after every possible thing, it's like, okay, we get it, man.
It loses
You're
its
cool.
it loses its gravitas.
It does, the gravitas of it. It's like every other time he's just like, by the way, I fight terrorists. If you guys didn't know.
So they head into the house. She doesn't bother knocking. She just heads right in. So I guess it's one of those types of neighborhood. they go through the living room, and then they go to the back door out into the patio where the family is. Her dad immediately says, "Where's my big girl?" And when I first read this, I thought he was talking about
Oh yeah,
her,
yeah, yeah.
Jane. I was like, "Whoa, that's kind of a rude thing to say to
She's
your
big.
daughter."
And then he like turns and faces the camera or the author and goes, "But she's big in all the right ways."
Yeah, she's curvy. She's curvy, right? But apparently he was calling for Stella again, who's the kid. She hugs him. Apparently she calls the grandma Noodle because she goes, where Noodle? And then Kevin's like, Noodle, and she's like,
Oh
it's what
yeah.
she calls my mom, but no one knows why.
You know what's crazy is mom kept trying to call her Mimi, so they went from Mimi to Noodle,
Yeah,
which is weird that a 1.5 year could say Noodle but not
not
Mimi.
Mimi. Yeah, it doesn't
That
make any sense. It's a weird detail to have in here that means
it doesn't make,
absolutely nothing.
but that's what we call Melissa.
Right,
My dad's
Noodle.
wife is Mimi.
Okay.
That's Mimi, and he's supposed to be Pop Pop. But
Well, apparently she's Noodle, and that's what you should be calling her from now on. And
I
Kevin's
take
like,
it I shouldn't laugh about that.
yeah.
Not if you want my mom to like you. It's like no, I think it's kind of funny to it's
Are you
completely
laughing at that,
normal.
Kevin?
Yeah, for an absolute stranger to be like Noodle, what's that? Haha. And then yeah, and she goes, "Get the fuck
It's
out of
not
my
funny.
house,
It's
Kevin."
not. It's not a joke in this house. It's not funny. It's just something my stupid daughter says.
Kevin, remember how you came in the house? Yeah, I fight terrorists every day. I know how
Yeah,
to get in
he's
the
like,
house. Okay, well, why don't you walk right out the door?
I can put the can in the recycling. I mean, I shot Osama bin Laden. I'm good.
Yeah.
So they go into the back. Her sister Kathleen is there, who has triplets, I believe. And Kathleen is yelling at her triplet sons, and she yells to her husband, "Stop them before they drown the cat." So apparently, her triplets are going to murder the grandparents'
I
cat,
guess they're. I
possibly.
guess they're. I guess they're just. Yeah, I guess maybe they're playing with the cat. It doesn't really explain that.
Yeah, it doesn't really explain how or why they
So are they
would
just
possibly
running
drown.
around with the cat
Yeah.
like
Are
outside?
they
That
just
poor
like
cat.
taking a hose and just spraying it into the cat's face? I don't
I
know.
have this highlighted. I'm curious to see if you did. Is her husband Justin runs off to do her bidding?
Yeah.
Justin never really pops up in this story at all.
Nope. Kind of a
But it just
shade
seemed like a
thrown at
weird
him,
like.
too.
It's kind of just like, oh yeah, he's whipped. By the way, it's just like to do her bit. It's like a random thing thrown up, and I feel like he doesn't say anything the rest of the
I don't
story.
think he does because Kathleen sees Kevin and she out loud goes, "Oh my God, who do we have here?" Which is a strange way to speak to another human being.
The husband over like messing with the kids goes, "Honey, what?"
She says, "Oh my God," when she looks at the
Yeah.
guy. Like, who interacts like this? Kevin's like, "This is my sister Kathleen." He stands slightly to lean across the table and shake her hand. And she asks, "Where's Michael?" Not here yet. Is that their other brother? Because she has
I
two
have no
hot
idea.
siblings, I think.
Two hot
Kathleen
siblings.
and Michael.
They're twins. They're twins. Yeah.
Right. And she's like, "I'm not the last one here for once." It's like, okay, again,
Also,
another detail not meaning anything.
her mom.
The mom is
roasts her.
an asshole. The mom comes in and she goes, "For heaven's sake, Jane, you could have at least put on some makeup," which is the first thing she says to her when she walks in.
First thing when she saw her, like not even knowing who else is around, just
like,
walks
"Oh
out
my,
and goes,
you're hideous,
yeah, wow,
Jane.
you look busted, Jane."
Yeah. Well, I guess next to Kathleen, who's hot, and then obviously Kevin is hot, as we've been told throughout the book. I guess Jane just looks hideous right now. And then the mom looks at Kevin and looks at her and then goes, "You need some color, dear. You look tired." And the mom, that's
What does that mean?
Why is she throwing shade at her? And also, yeah, what do you mean?
Oh,
you
color
need
is
some
in
color?
makeup. I don't know what that means.
Or some
You
sun?
need some color.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
or
a tan?
maybe she's taking a really weird stance and looking at Kevin,
I don't know. She does look at Kevin and says
saying
that.
you need some color.
Yeah, I don't know. And she's like, "I'm tired. I got a toddler and a full-time job, so yeah, pretty damn tired." Now, Jade, let's remember we are in the middle of summer, but okay.
Yeah, it's also a little contentious. Like that feels like if I was standing there during that conversation, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, it's extremely awkward to have this conversation. She goes, "Well, you could have at least put on some lipstick for your friend here," and and then Jane drops a bomb. She tells her mom he's Stella's mom, and then she goes, "Fuckity fuck," I guess in her No, she says them out loud. It says the words fell out of my mouth without me even thinking about. Oh, maybe she doesn't say "fuckity fuck" out loud. She says
She lets go of
he's
the
Stella's
fact that
dad. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stella's dad. Yeah.
Which apparently she had not been planning on telling them, and immediately does that.
So she had made it a year and a half, with actually longer, since she was pregnant, and just not mentioning the
Nope.
dude's name.
Not at
So
all.
they have no idea who this man is. That's
Kathleen
also a pretty wild move.
Kathleen again continues her creepiness, and she goes, "Holy shit, Jane! I know you said he was hot, but I thought, like hot for you." So everyone is just saying how ugly
Duncan!
Jane is.
Duncan on Jane.
It's insane. Why is everyone so mean to each other in this family?
I just can't go to the fact of like I honestly feel a little bad for Kevin, not like terribly bad, but it's
Right.
like every person he meets, everyone just goes, "Oh my God, you're a sex
Yeah, he's a
god. You're
piece of
gorgeous.
meat."
Like you're just." It's
Yeah.
the first thing that comes out of anybody's mouth, and this is a family.
Yeah, he's just a piece of meat, I guess.
That sister's husband is right there, and she's just like, "My God, that's a hot piece of body that you have right there, Jane."
And I like how she said she. I thought he would be like hot for you, like as in like
like
your
she's
version
swinging
of
a
hot.
little bit above her
Right,
weight
apparently.
level. And she's just like, they're in different weight classes. Is what we're getting here.
So then Jane lets everybody know. She's like, yes, Kevin is Stella's dad. No, she doesn't know yet. Which again, it's like the daughter's like 1.5. I don't think she's gonna really even have the memory of this interaction. So it doesn't really matter what you tell her.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean,
and then
it'd
she's
be
just
like the same thing if she had gotten a boyfriend, and then eventually just down the line was just like, he's your dad,
right.
Like they're not gonna know the difference.
No, they don't care. So she just tells her family, like, be nice to him, don't give him a hard time.
And then Kevin squeezes the back of my
Get ready
neck.
for the I gotta get
What's
the cringe cowbell coming up here. And he's like,
Oh,
relax,
yep,
I'm fine. And then she goes, God, why do his hands have to feel so good on my skin? And why do my damn nipples react? That's a cringe cowbell.
It's a Pavlovian response, nothing more. My body recognizes that he's a sex unicorn, and I sigh. But the affectionate squeeze on the neck, I don't think I've ever done that to anybody where you just... Because like
there's a tickle or a massage, but not like there's no like relaxing way to grab.
Like, you know how like you go up to your buddy, you grab like on the shoulders and give a little squeeze
and then
go,
smash
hey,
your head into him. Yeah,
you're good, but like that's just like all I'm envisioning is just like that. Like,
which is like, no wonder her nipples got hard from that. So Kathleen is like, so are y'all together now? And Kevin, which is again like, this is a lot to like pile on these people. Kevin's like, we're working on it. And she apparently says no. He says working on it. She says no at the same time.
Let's try that on 3. So which one do you want to be?
I'll be Kevin. So
okay, we do 1.
Right. So are
2.
you all together now? Working on it.
No. So we go. No, what I'm saying is, we go 1.
Yeah,
2,
you say no, and then I say working on it.
Okay,
at the same time.
3. So 1.
Well,
2,
no, I'm going to say, so are y'all together now? And then we naturally, like in conversationally, we respond to that. Okay.
Okay. Which one am I? No.
No, and I'm working on it. All right.
Okay.
Ready? So are y'all together now? Working on it.
No.
We exchange looks, and he winks at me, and then he goes, "It's complicated." And then Kathleen goes, "Does he know what a hot mess you are?" And then here, what happens next is an unbelievable exchange where they just start talking about how weird Jane is to her baby daddy. And because Kathleen then starts telling how Jane used to wear 2 different colored shoes to school. And Halloween, all the other girls were dressing like sexy kittens or unicorns. This one dressed up as something from that wizard book, which we all know is Harry Potter. Like, why? What do you mean? What is so cool about saying like wizard book?
Do you think it's like a legal issue?
No, you can say Harry. No, you can reference Harry Potter.
That's common. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you can say it whatever you want.
It's very weird. And she dressed up as the Golden Snitch.
So, also, like, Harry Potter was like one of the biggest franchises in the world. So, like, what do you mean? Like, that's not that weird.
That she refers to it as, and also this is set in modern time, like 2020, something like that, right? I believe we worked out. Yeah, like that weird wizard book. It's like, you probably read that book in school. They're not that old. They're like in
Also,
their
she
20s.
dressed up as a golden snitch. Like, what? Out of
That
all
was
the
a
things
weird
to
one.
wear, like that's the weirdest part. What the hell? So
Dressed
she
up
just
as
wore
a
like a
ball with
yellow
wings.
outfit.
Yeah.
I don't understand. And then she says another year she was one of those troll guys with the hairy feet. And then the mom chimes in, "Oh yes, that Froggy character." And she's like, "Frodo," but I was
Frodo.
actually
She's a Lord of the
Sam.
Rings nerd, which I
Yeah.
love.
Well,
But like,
apparently she's awesome. She's into all the same stuff we are.
but this whole exchange just sounds like it's like that they're from like the like 1950s, where it's like, oh, one of those newfangled
Yeah.
whizzing machines. You mean the blender,
It's like
Dad?
Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter are both gigantic franchises that made billions of dollars. We don't need to pretend
Insane.
like they are like the weirdest things in the world. Also, she dressed up as Sam, which granted is kind of weird, but Kevin is like because he's the real hero of
He's
the
the
story.
real hero.
So he shows like, hey, he knows his Lord of the Rings because we all do.
Yeah, and Sam was the MVP of that. But and then she meets his gaze. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
The
this is
nipples
a
are
weird connection.
The triplets come by the table carrying something suspicious, which is
It's a
we
dead
never
cat.
find out what it is. Yeah, it is a bomb. And Kathleen jumps up to chase him.
It's just a giant bomb.
Yeah, and he's like, "I'm trained for this." And then the food is done. They sit at the table and they start grilling Kevin. The dad, which she says grilling Kevin, but the dad's just asking him questions about his life. He's just like, "So you're a soldier?" Like that's not grilling. That's just being like, "Oh yeah, so you're a soldier?" And he's like, "Yep, I'm in the Navy."
It's called just common talk.
Yeah,
Getting to know somebody.
learning
They're
about
not giving a 10th degree.
the father of your grandchild. So then we start getting some backstory from about Kevin.
Finally, 15 chapters in.
Yeah, we're almost done with the book, and now
in,
we learn about him.
He was born in Albuquerque.
Yep.
And grew up mostly in New Mexico. Wait, isn't Albuquerque in New Mexico?
Yes. So I guess he's saying like he was born in New Mexico, and it is a weird phrasing. I will fully agree.
Because so he was born in New Mexico and
Yes.
grew up mostly in New Mexico. So I guess he left Albuquerque but stayed in New Mexico.
Right.
But funny side note. Albuquerque, I actually didn't know how it was pronounced until like high school.
Okay.
It just had never come up.
Sure. There's
I
words
always
like
thought
that.
like I knew what the state was, or the city or whatever was, and I knew what the state was like, but I always thought it was Albuquerque.
Okay. That's not that, but that's not that crazy,
But I volunteered that.
Oh no.
Do you remember who did I date? Beth?
Yes.
Yeah. I was at their house and something had came up with Albuquerque on the news. It was something it's like awkwardly. Whoa. You can disconnect or remove this iPhone from the microphone list.
That was weird. Your microphone changed. I can hear you, but it doesn't sound like it's coming through your AirPods anymore.
Does it sound better or worse?
A little worse.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't hear you now.
You can't hear me now?
No, I can hear you now. All right, you're good.
Okay.
So you're at her house with her family.
And then something flashes up on there, and then they were like, "Oh, where was that?" And I was like, "Albuquerque." And everybody stops and just looks at me. And they're like,
God.
"What?" And I said, "Albuquerque." And they were like, "You mean Albuquerque?" And they spent like an hour and 15 minutes just laughing at me. And I felt so bad.
That's
and
rough.
so dumb that I just like made up an excuse.
The relationship was over as soon as you said that.
I can't be here. Yeah, anyway.
That's
I just
rough.
yeah.
So he tells everybody how he's on medical leave, and apparently he took a bullet.
Took a bullet to the shoulder.
To the shoulder. Yep. Did some nerve damage. We're waiting to see if the damage is permanent.
But he can still draw and paint.
Yeah, apparently he's an amazing
artist.
So
it doesn't affect his everyday life. He just can't go back to service.
And then the question comes out like, hey, so are you going to go back out there when you're cleared? And this is where there's a moment here where he's like, now I have a home base to come back to, you and Stella. And her heart crumples like a sheet of discarded paper, which I don't fully understand what that
If
means.
you need some Foley work, I can show you what the sound of her heart was.
Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. So that sounds like a
Yeah.
medical issue. Um,
Yeah.
my
So again, I mean,
is she
he's been
upset or
pretty
is she
upfront about
happy?
this. She's upset, I think,
Okay, because he's going back to war.
because she says my baby girl deserves to know her father.
Hmm.
So she's done
Okay.
a complete 180 in the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks. She's like, okay, he's all in. Like, it's out there now. We're gonna be together somehow, even though they're not together.
Right.
But she gets upset. But I feel like he's been pretty clear about this the entire time.
Yeah. I
Is
mean, it
he's
is
like,
his job
I
and his
want to go
career.
back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back. It's my job. He's not fired from
Right.
the
He got
military.
shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Chapter
Yeah.
12. This is now Kevin's perspective. I didn't understand this sentence. After leaving Jane's parents' house, I pull up to the curb outside the Thompsons' old place. Who are the Thompsons? Are we supposed to know what that means?
Because what's Jane's last
Remember, Jane's last name is like that famous actress name or whatever. Wasn't she named after an actress or something? I don't think her last name's Thompson. Isn't it Seymour? Isn't it Jane Seymour or something like that?
name? Yeah.
So
The
who are the
Thompsons.
Thompsons? And then there's a for
Oh,
sale
no.
sign hangs from a post in the yard. What does any
It's a
of this mean?
quintessential family home. Yeah.
And then the next sentence is insane. Eerily like the magazine cutout I've carried in my wallet since I was a teenager. So he's carried a cutout from a magazine of a home in his wallet. That's not his home.
No.
It's a eerily
No,
like the
it's
magazine
hers.
cutout.
Oh, wait. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so she wanted to stop there. So this house she likes because
Okay.
she said it seems like a perfect family house.
But
So she just wants to stop by this house.
yeah, the
He
Thompsons. We have no idea who the
has
Thompsons are.
we have they're apparently
Yeah,
relevant to
okay.
the story, but he has a cutout from a
Yeah.
magazine that he's had since he's a teenager,
Of just a
and
house.
it's like a carbon copy of this house that she loves in her small town that she wanted
It's
to
like,
look at.
yeah,
just
it's
randomly.
eerily like the magazine. But can we just stop for a second and think about this for a second? So he has a cutout from a magazine of a house
of just a house.
in his wallet.
So it's like he's off. It's like he's off at war. Like if you just imagine like all the war movies where it's like they like under candlelight pull out the picture of the
Right.
loved one or
And
something,
it is
and he just pulls out like this magazine like page he'd ripped out, unfolds.
it's like
and
a house
"Look, that's
listing.
your
It's like $1.2 million. It's like a.
And imagine what if anybody asked him about that? They're like, "Is that your family home?"
He's like, no.
Maybe.
Yeah.
One day.
Maybe someday. It doesn't. It's such a strange thing to have in here. It doesn't make any sense. And he's like, what is it about this place? And like you said, like she talked about, like apparently the backyard is amazing. So again, she's been here. I've always loved the shutters and the big front porch. And then he's like, I stayed in a house like this one. Think I was there for about 4 months before I was moved somewhere else. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
She reaches over, squeezes his thigh, and she's like, I'm sorry your childhood sucked. It's like, that's one way to put it. My family is a total pain in the ass, but they've always had my back. And then he's like, I like that she doesn't try to sugarcoat anything for me, but calls it like it is.
This is the first time she's ever said anything like that to our knowledge. She normally sugarcoats everything. At least not her internal monologue, but
and then we're along with Kevin because Kevin's like, "What's up with your sister giving you so much shit?" And it's like, "Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin. I'm with you. I agree." Because it's like, why did her sister give her so much shit? And then she talks about
do you have the last? Oh yeah, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, so she's
I
like,
was up ahead of one paragraph.
She doesn't mean anything by it. I've always been a little different than the rest of my family.
March to the beat of my own drum.
I'm good if I end up at school wearing clothes that don't have food smeared on them. And then
what does that mean?
Yeah, well, I guess from the kid, because of her child, I guess. But still, like, I mean, you and I have kids, and like, I don't necessarily ever really have food like smeared on me in that way.
The only time that really happens is like after dinner, where it's like I'm getting her out of her seat, and her
Sure.
hands are still a little like
Exactly.
foodie, but
not
it's
before
not
you
like
go
they're
to
just
work.
not just walking around with hands of peanut
Yeah.
butter, like they're grabbing onto stuff.
And then Kevin drops his lines. He's like, I don't know what you see when you look at yourself, Janie. I only see a beautiful, sexy, amazing woman. You obviously went to college.
Obviously went
Yeah, what does that mean?
but that's not you
You obviously went to college.
Either she did or she didn't. Did she just look like she did?
He's like, it's like he's asking. He's like, I mean, you obviously went to college, right? You know, and now you're a
Because
successful.
this isn't going to work if you didn't.
Now you're a successful and popular teacher. It's like, how would he know any of this about her being popular? Like, it's one thing for him to just be like, hey, now you're a successful
Well, granted,
teacher.
he did some recon, went to the local bakeries and found
That's
out where
true.
she lived
That's true.
and worked.
And he says, if my mother had put in a fraction of the effort you put in with Stella, my life might not have been so shitty. And then we get some weird backstory here.
And this is such a look. Yeah. This is phenomenal writing.
Go ahead.
I'm not generally an emotional man, and these big feelings are unfamiliar.
Yeah, man don't know emotion and how man don't cry. Like, it's very like, all right, we're writing this guy a pretty basic caveman. And then he tells us that his mom was a model. Now we know where the magazines come from. Oh, his mom was a model for magazines.
Magazines and then catalogs mostly, but pretty successful.
What is this, the 1950s? Like, I didn't like.
We don't talk about catalogs a lot, but
no.
You know, the
and
J.
then apparently
lineup. Come on.
She got into drugs as a way to keep thin, and his mom OD'd when he was 7, which is insane. And why are we learning this? Why do we need to know this? Yeah, he found her when he was 7 when he got home from school. It's like, what the hell are we doing here? He says, I don't even remember crying. Which is like, holy crap.
And then he's like, so for where I'm sitting, you go to work with coffee on your shirt is nothing. Like, again, it's the whole, like, I kill terrorists for a living. It's
he's like, I've been shot. My mom OD'd and died. I don't know who my dad is, but yeah, you did have a little bit of strawberry in your hair. Just a little bit. And, you know, I get it. I get it.
You're right. Your struggles are harder than mine, Jane. Yeah. No one at any point has said any of that.
And then she's like, I didn't mean to make light of. And he's like, no. That's not what I meant. I come from nothing.
But again, like, the like similarities he's drawing is like, your family thinks you're this hot mess, and I think all I've ever been good at is lining something up at the crosshairs and pulling the trigger.
That's a cringe.
I'm a weapon. I'm a weapon.
Yeah, what is this? Is like the Terminator. Like, he's like, I was bred to kill. Like, it's like, all right.
Then I kiss her with all the hunger I feel. What a hunger. Okay.
Yeah. And he plunges his tongue into her hot mouth. That's another cringe there. She kisses me back, wrapping her arms around my neck.
Isn't the kid still in the back seat?
Yeah, the kid's been crying for hours.
It's just in the back seat, right? Because they went right from Jane's house.
Yeah, there's a kid
went
there,
to go drive and look
sure.
at this old house. Yeah.
I go slow, taking my time to explore her mouth, which is weird because it's like, are you trying to like, what do you mean explore her mouth?
Teeth?
Like, are you trying to like run your tongue over? It's like at the dentist when they like count your teeth or whatever. I guess they don't count.
Your dentist has never done that with their tongue. What are you talking about, man?
God, dude,
That's disgusting, man.
I feel like it was the last time I was at the dentist. It was like the lady had to like. She had like both hands, and she was like really digging in the gum, where like she was almost like standing on the stool, like putting all of her pressure to get, there was like something down in there or something, and like I remember being like, oh my god, she's gonna break my tooth right now because of how much pressure she's applying to it. It was insane. Anyways, and then so he's like, you know, clearly he's getting hot and horny, and she's like, no, Kevin, we can't. I'm sorry.
And then it ends.
Because remember, she said no sex. That's what she told him. Chapter 13. Shut it down. Chapter 13. We're back in Jane's perspective.
Yeah.
And then this is great. This is where I am so excited to talk about these next 2 chapters with you, because it just gets very weird. So a voice comes from behind us. We have no idea. Like, are we in the next day? I don't know.
Okay.
she
It has
goes,
to be the next day because that would be insane.
yeah, for all that to happen in the same day.
Um,
So it's like somebody's calling her name, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm not ready to see anyone from work." Which is like, I don't know why you immediately knew that it was a guy from work.
until they worked out the details of their relationship, I was like, does anyone at work know about this thing? I mean,
No.
it's been like 2 weeks, but like it's summer break.
And apparently, it's a guy named Logan Roger. And his
Logan
eyes fall.
Roger.
So Kevin has Stella on his shoulders, and he's walking with Jane. And Logan Roger comes up, and he reaches out his hand. He's like, "I'm a math teacher and golf coach at the high school with Jane." And hey, Kevin takes the man's hand and grips it tightly. Logan grimaces at Kevin's squeeze. How is this guy shaking hands?
Jeez.
Like
And
who?
he goes, I'm Kevin, James baby babysitter. That's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
okay.
this was a strange direction because look, like Jane could have just been like, "Hey, this is," if she didn't want to say like this is my baby daddy or whatever, she could just said this is my friend. Like that's all that had to happen here. Instead, they basically pose that Kevin is the male nanny for the baby.
Yeah.
um
It's like, I don't even understand. And he goes, like, very progressive of you. And then he's like, and then I have a note here. So basically, then Logan's just like, so Jane, when are you going to let me take you out?
yeah,
And
who
he's like,
talks like this?
he's like, you can only make excuses for so long. Now that you've worked out your childcare issues, are you free tonight?
What
And
the
my comment
hell?
on that my comment on the entire paragraph was, why is every man in this novel so predatory? Like,
Extremely.
this guy is, who says that to somebody in
No.
front of somebody else? It's like, you've been putting me down at every turn. You said you needed a babysitter. It looks like you got a nanny.
He's
When are we
right
doing
here.
this?
So let's go on a date right now. Um, and then Kevin says, like, yeah, Janie, now that you've worked out childcare, you're free to date. Go. I've got this. And then, so basically, they're like forcing Jane into a date with this guy, like immediately,
Such a
for
weird
some
power
reason.
move because Kevin follows it up saying, "Yeah, now that you've got childcare, you're free to date. I've got this." And he's like, "Right, Stella," and like they have this bonding moment, and it's just like, what a weird like. What is it like in his mind? Is he just like, "Yeah, go ahead. It will not be nearly as good at
Yeah, I
sex
don't
things as
understand
me."
the play from
Like,
Kevin. Yeah, I don't understand the play from Kevin here. It's like, is he
this
trying
woman
to?
is my everything, but I
Yeah,
want her to go out and date to feel how inadequate every other man is. I
like
don't understand what's happening.
I'm wondering if he's like trying to be like, hey, like again, like I know we're not officially back together yet, so you go do your thing, girl, or something along those lines, or like I don't understand, but she tells us how apparently he told her dad that he isn't staying as soon as he's medically cleared, he's leaving, which I guess again was at that dinner. I guess I'll never know where he is, what he's doing, or if he's safe and coming back. It's not the life I want for Stella, which in modern times with technology in the military, there are ways
Well,
for military members to communicate with their family members. Are there not?
Well, I'm going to go out here on a limb and say that there's a large chunk of the American military workforce that is married with
With
multiple
kids.
children.
Yeah. And have
But
ways to
and
communicate
keep in
with
mind,
them.
the only reason all of this, like, I raised my daughter for a year and a half with no help was she went to the base once and asked and
Right.
called some people,
Right.
and they wouldn't put him through. And then the rest was him just not making contact at
Right.
all, any way, shape, or form. So, like, yeah,
It may
she's
not
acting like
be
he's gonna disappear
it may not
into a
be
void.
American Sniper style where Chris Kyle was like in the movie was like calling his wife like while he's on a rooftop like about to shoot a guy. It's like, all right, maybe, Kevin's going to call you when he's back on the
Yeah,
base, but still it's like he's going to be able to get in touch
yeah.
with you, you know? And then this weird exchange about like who coaches golf. I didn't even know that was a thing. Kevin says once we're in the car, it's like, yeah, I mean, there's golf teams in high school. There's obviously someone to coach them. I don't know why like the author decided to be like, oh yeah, this guy's like clowning on the fact that this guy's a golf coach. It's like, why is that like a point of pride of being like, this guy's such a pussy. He's a golf coach.
Every high school sport has a coach.
Yeah,
Any
I don't
sport
understand.
really has a coach.
And she lets him know. She's like, we have a boys and a girls golf team. He coaches both. Kevin makes a disgusted noise in his throat. He also has 2 first names. Make him sound like a jackass. It's like, what are we doing here?
Fucking Roger.
Why are we coming at this guy so hard?
He's immediately he's like upset at this guy, but he was also just like, go ahead and date this guy. Like,
Yeah, because then she asks him, she's like, then why did you force me to go out with him? He's like, hey, I'm just the Manny, remember? And it's like, I don't, that doesn't answer the question.
It's a really weird argument they're having where she's like, you almost said baby daddy. And he's like, I would have preferred to introduce myself as your fiance or husband. And she's like, Kevin, we're not discussing.
Yeah, I don't know. How long has he been asking you out? She says, I don't know, a year or so. This guy has been asking her out for over a year. Whatever his name is, Justin Roger or whatever. He's been asking her for a year. And he's like, you won't date me, so you might as well date the man with 2 first names. Which, again, why are you going after this guy's name? He didn't choose his name. He was just given his name by his parents. Like, why is that the thing you're making fun of him by?
Roasted.
And she's like, I don't want to go out with Logan, which is clear because you've said no to him for the last year. But then she goes, well, maybe I'll have fun. He's a nice guy, and I can't have Kevin. Well, technically, I can have him. He's made that clear again and again. My body wants him. I haven't had dry panties since he's returned. That's definitely a cringe.
Hoo-ha.
Yeah.
My hoo-ha is in a constant state of arousal. So, you know what? They're actually perfect for each other because he just gets raging erections 24/7. And apparently, she needs a bathing suit down there.
Well, her nipples are also always rock hard when he's around.
And also, okay, so if we're taking this to be very literal, right. They have not been dry since he returned.
Yeah, that's
she's been
issue.
Teaching classes. She's been going out in public.
Yeah,
she's been sitting on things. It's just weird.
She's having this a whole entire dialogue with herself, like Kevin's honorable man, and he's made good on his promises to get to know Stella, and he's abided by all my rules. I know he wants me in this let's have some sexy times way, but that's not enough. It's like what is going on here? She's just having this like weird argument to herself, and then he just clearly she's sitting there for a while just having this argument. He's like, what are you ruminating about over there? Which also, who talks like that? Who says, what are you ruminating about over there?
Yeah. And she goes, being someone's first choice. And she says that without stopping herself. Like, she's like, I want to be picked. I don't want it to be because there's a kid. But then he goes and does this thing again where he's just like, yeah, I wouldn't know what that's like. Okay, we get it, orphan man.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I get it. I mean, my mom did, die when I was 7. And so I guess I wasn't her first choice.
Jane, that my mom
she chose heroin over me or, whatever. And then she goes, oh, please, no fewer than 4 women in that bakery want to climb you like a pole. Weird.
So, they must go to this bakery a ton. And why is she representing the bakery specifically?
Is this the only restaurant in town?
Has she gone there with him? And it's an all women-owned bakery? I don't.
And then
it's nuts.
And then he's quiet, and then he speaks again.
You
ever heard of adoption picnics? And she's like, no,
I haven't.
Neither have I. I don't know if that's a thing. He's like, there are these big gatherings where prospective families show up, like to a city park, and then they bring a bunch of kids who are in the system, and there's fair food like hot dogs and cotton candy, and then they parade the kids in front of the adoptive parents. It's like, is this a real thing? I'm gonna look this up. Adoption picnics put children on display.
I feel like I've seen a movie.
I mean, this is from 1996. This article. Yeah,
like 90s movies, they would have stuff like that, like the foster kid, like who never got picked. Like, I feel like I remember watching a movie.
Right.
No, you know what it's like? I know exactly what movie. Stuart Little.
Okay.
Never.
Yeah. Did not think we were going to be talking about Stuart Little tonight. Right.
The mouse was in the foster system because they're
like, you know what? I really wanted a kid. Like, I don't really want the mouse.
But remember, they had like the huge fairground.
Right.
Or like something, there's kids running all around, and then like Stuart Little was off to the side, dressed in human clothes as a mouse, and no one was interested at all. Like, which was the craziest part to me is people walked right on by, and they were like, "Is that mouse talking and standing and wearing jeans with a belt?
Is he up for adoption? No. Because I don't know if I really want.
But I remember that was like an adoption picnic.
Yeah. So I guess that's
I don't think they do that anymore.
And he talks about that the young ones were the ones the families all wanted. The older kids were kind of shuffling in the background. We were the
So
ones
he entered the system when he was 7 years old.
7, yeah. And
Wait,
then
I would
he
assume that's when his mom died, so that's when he went in.
yes, yeah. And then he says, "I
So
went to my last one
when
when
they
I was
say like,
12."
okay, so there's a 5 year period. I guess is that I don't know what's young for the foster age, but
I
I
have
mean I
no
know
idea.
older kids have a harder time finding a home, but
Sure,
like
which is
I'm
natural,
thinking like
but yeah.
15, 16-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a 12-year-old is still an 11. I mean, he was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, like,
That's
unless.
still young.
And apparently he was incredibly attractive. So, somebody would have been like, look at that cute kid. Let's bring him home. Not in that way.
But this also doesn't make
But, yeah.
sense because he never got picked.
Yeah. But he was
So he just
prime
floated around the
adoption age.
system.
Yeah.
But he went to his last one at 12. So I guess from 12 until 18, he just did what?
I
Or did
think
he move out on his own? Did he
I think
join
he
the
did.
army at
I think he
12?
just I think he just lived on the streets or something. I don't know. And she's like, "Kevin," and he's like, "Don't. There's nothing to say." Um, but yeah, I know all about not being anyone's first
It's
choice.
so manipulative and
He is.
weird that what Kevin did there, because like Kevin dunks on this guy. The
Uh-huh.
guy's, I mean, he's tenacious. He's a little predatory,
Look,
but
the
he's,
guy has two
whole
first.
year he wants to
He
go
has
out.
a first name and last name are
But
both first
so
names.
Kevin basically is like, go date this dude,
Yeah.
and then starts to make her feel bad about it.
Uh-huh.
And then when she tries to respond, he goes, "But remember, I'm an orphan.
Remember, nobody wanted
Do you
me.
know what that's like?" Yeah.
I
And
got
then
all
she just
dressed
doesn't
up.
say
I
anything
had
more after
cotton
that.
candy,
Yeah.
and there were hot dogs, and nobody wanted me. And so I went into the Navy at 13, and I've been a killing machine.
Yeah.
I've been bred into this. I am Steve Rogers. I am.
I am Steve Rogers. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So, but you're right.
No, that's Logan's dad.
Any sort of difficult task, he's like, I've killed terrorists. Like I know what I'm doing. And then any sort of like any sympathy anyone else gets, he goes, yeah, I mean, my mom died and I don't know my dad and I've never been picked in my life. So, okay, I guess your situation's a little sad. So it's like, dude, yeah.
Also, for someone who doesn't like talking about his past and
Oh, he talks
emotions and
about
these
it
big
a
feelings,
lot.
he's whipping it out at every
Hmm.
turn. It's like you say
Figuratively and
something to him,
literally.
and it's
Chapter
literally
14.
the only emotional rebuttals he's had this entire book has been, "Well, I killed terrorists, so I can handle this," or, "Well, I was, you know, basically the saddest story that's ever been told was me."
He's like, that book,
Okay,
that's a series of unfortunate events that was based on my life. He's like that whole series
yeah, it
based
was.
on me, except for they had each other. I had no one. Chapter 14.
Exactly. Still somehow worse.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Jane comes back from, I
yeah.
guess, the date.
Which,
Kevin was watching
yeah,
Stella, which is, I guess, fine. I mean, that's normal. She basically took her back. But he's passed out with her on the couch, and so she arrives in the house, and then like looks at them on the couch, snuggled up together, and she's like, "Oh my God!" What he says is, "He's so beautiful, it's almost painful to look at him." So not even ignoring the fact that it's a cute father-daughter moment. It's just,
sure.
God damn, he's
Yeah,
attractive.
she's still getting horny, and she's like, not the way I want. I could say yes and marry him, and he'd probably stay faithful while he's out chasing terrorists. It's like she imagines it's like an old school like 20s like cartoon where it's like the bad guys and the bank robbers and they're like, they go up these stairs and then they go up these stairs and then they go up these stairs, like out chasing
And
terrorists.
it's
What do
like
you think
he's
he
stopping and like
does?
they're going to different doors and he's like
Yeah, are they
opening it and
behind
it's
this
like this
door?
pretty lady and he's just like, "Oh, okay." But like I don't know what like they think happens on a base or chasing terrorists, but I don't think he's like thinking about dating. I don't know.
I don't know, but he'll never love me. At least I would never know if he loved me for me or because I'm Stella's mom. And it's like, okay.
I don't want to be someone's wife because he did the right thing.
Yeah, so I guess she's saying she's like, I don't want him to marry me because he's the father of my child. I want him to marry me because of me. But it's like, oh, isn't that still like a good reason? I don't know. It's just like,
but he's also like he's also been like
I'm madly in love with
every
you.
other sentence.
Yeah,
When they're not having sex, he just tells her that he's in love with her.
yeah,
And so it's just
exactly.
like she's not listening to the words. She's just going like, "You're only saying that because I'm a mom now." It's like,
Yeah.
no,
So
I
she
don't know.
comes over to take Stella from him,
Yeah.
and she's like, "I'm just gonna get Stella in her crib." And he frowns and he goes, "No, I've got her." It's like, all right. I mean, that's weird.
Okay.
And then
And he puts her down like he'd been doing it his entire life
you mean this?
he kills terrorists.
Putting
So, yeah.
it's just it's like literally like pretty easy thing to do. He goes, "How was your date?" And she goes, "Not the worst I've ever had, but not great." And then apparently he talked about
Dunk it again on Logan.
He talked about golf the majority of the evening. I don't even like putt, which is like, all right, well, Jane, honey, that's not the same thing. So
And
I pretty
also,
much
putt-putt's fun for everybody.
yeah, putt actually sounds like a great conversation. So I pretty much had no comment on all of that. And then at the end, he tried to kiss me, and I turned my face at the last minute, and he ended up licking my cheek. How was he trying to kiss her?
So he went out like tongue first.
But it's also like
he went all in.
The tongue thing. I mean, look, we don't need to get into the mechanics of kissing, but like when you kiss with your tongue is not fully outside of your mouth like that. Like I don't understand.
It was also his first kiss, so
apparently,
a year and a half.
That's what he gets for leading with his tongue. Kevin winces.
Oh wait, and I highlighted this. Oh, and my note says, "Bro, that is literally all you do." Every time they describe them kissing, it's him shoving his tongue into somebody's mouth.
A lot of tongue.
It's like, why are you dunking on him for leading with his tongue when that's all Kevin does?
And she's like, terrible technique, and now it'll be all awkward at school. Because they work together. He's a math teacher, right? And she's like, the whole time I kept thinking that he wasn't you. And then he's like, oh, Janie, do you need a better good night kiss? And then she's like, your end of the date kisses usually go better, I ask, knowing I'm playing a dangerous game.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Yeah, that's a bell.
Ring the bell. Because what immediately follows is I've never licked a woman's cheek, at least not the one on her face. Oh, God.
Yep, that's another bell. That's number 8.
That's what the bell, was for.
I also didn't like that dangerous game comment. He leans forward and puts his hands on my face, cradling me.
Like that.
He licks his lips, which is kind of weird. Just that smile, baby. You have no idea what that smile of yours does to me. Oh,
I think we know. I think we know exactly what it does to him.
And so this next chapter, I don't really know how much we can talk about because the entire chapter is a sex scene, like the whole thing. It's like, I mean.
Well, here. So wait, we can read the first one. Actually, the first like 2 sentences. So he says he kisses Jane. And like he said, you don't know what that smile does to me, right? That's right as we end the chapter.
Right.
I'm rock hard and more than ready to pull her into my lap, but I don't want to scare her away.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
What does that mean? So
I can't control this guy down here. He's got a mind of its own.
Then he leads with the tongue again.
Yeah, of course. Like he made fun of Jordan Ryan or whatever that guy's name was. Yeah.
Then they decide that I kissed down her throat to the sensitive place at her collarbone. Weird. And then she basically goes, "Take me to bed, Kevin." So,
yeah,
baby just went down.
First thing they do.
He picks her up, and just boom. Oh wait, okay, yeah. And then
we're trying to be.
He goes, "Are you
tactful.
Sure?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he says, "Are you sure?" Because he's like now for the first time ever asking for consent.
Right.
She goes, "Yeah, I'm a mom first, always, but with you, I feel like a woman, and tonight I need that." And then, wait, is this that weird thing they did where they both take off their clothes?
Yep.
And just stand in front of each other. That's what this is. Like literally, like he sets her down and goes, "Take off your clothes."
Yeah.
And so she just takes off her clothes, and Jesus Christ! And then he takes off his clothes, and they just kind of stand there for a minute.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, oh my God.
Yep. And they. I want to take my time with you. She goes. make love to you, but I can't say that. Hell, I don't even know what love is. It's like, what the fuck is this? What is this? This is the strangest book in the world.
And they both get naked for each other, and then she goes,
Yeah.
"I'm not as thin as I was before I had Stella."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "No, you're curvier, and it's delicious."
Delicious. Ugh.
Oh, and then he does a weird weighing thing.
Yep.
Where he's
Like, you're right, they're bigger.
medical about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh wait.
And then they do some stuff.
He just keeps calling her delicious.
To
they do
each
a lot
other.
of stuff. Oh wait. I want to do something.
There was a weird one
says,
here.
Lie down.
What does this mean? Her eyes are hooded and so heavy with lust. It's like, what do you mean her eyes were hooded? What does that mean? Does that mean like they're almost closed, but they're not fully closed? Is that what hooded means? Like,
I think so. Like,
okay.
I can't. Even, I don't even.
She
know
was
what
squinting.
To do.
I think she might need glasses. I don't.
Oh, but we found out that he is incredibly well endowed.
Oh, which we figured, like at this point.
Yeah. I mean, but boom. I grab her by the armpits. Come here.
Yeah, kind of weird.
And they do the old 6 and the 9.
Yep. They're doing some numbers game there.
Oh, okay. And then I have this highlighted.
Yeah.
So, okay,
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Approach to stuff. So basically, like, he's like getting like really revved up.
Sure.
Right, to the point where Yahtzee. Basically. But he goes, I'm a fucking SEAL. I've endured Hell Week. I can delay my orgasm.
Oh God!
Just out of left field.
That's a
like
cringe.
What a weird internal keep it together.
Yeah. This is just like Hell Week when we sat on that beach overnight and we had to carry those heavy logs. I could do this.
There's some hissing.
Yeah, they're doing some stuff. She's talking about him. She throws a callback line. She's like, "Guess I'm not so good at multitasking," because I guess she wasn't really paying attention to him as much as he was paying attention to her.
And this is the first time he doesn't have 100 condoms on him.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't have any condoms. Yep.
Condoms, and then she's just like, "Oh, whatever. I'm on birth control." So something I added to my life after the big surprise.
Then she goes, "And I know we're both clean."
You don't. No one knows that.
No.
That's a really weird thing to say.
Oh God. They are doing the deed.
God, it's the descriptive factors of how, because it's almost like they're dancing around what's happening. I just don't like reading it.
And then he's like running his thumb along her C-section scar, which is kind of weird. And she's like, stretch marks on my C-section scar, not the sexiest. And meanwhile, they're in mid sex right now, and she's like, "Yeah, I know, I'm a piece of shit. I look pretty ugly right now." And he's like, "False. Your body nurtured our daughter, and there's nothing sexier." That's just kind of a weird,
casual sex talk.
She leans down and kisses my throat and neck. Throat kiss seems a little dangerous. And they're doing it.
And then he basically, right towards the end of Yahtzee, he's just like, "This is it. She's the one for me."
Yeah.
Just based on this, I guess. Yeah, I mean, this is just...
I may not know shit about love, but I know I want this woman to be mine forever. He's saying that immediately after they, finished their sexy time. He's literally like, "Now I know this is the girl for me."
He's like,
oh my God. What an amazing... So to recap this section here, we had family members just absolutely shitting on Jane in front of the father of her child, talking about how weird she was, talking about how she's unorganized, a real piece of shit. We learned that Kevin had a picture of a house that was not his house in his wallet for many years, out of a magazine. We learned that nobody loved Kevin ever. He used to go to these adoption fairs and nobody
Never
would
got
ever
picked. He
pick
was the
him.
Stuart Little.
He was Stuart
Little.
Little, and he's apparently going to be going back when he's medically cleared. At least that's what we think so far. And then they had sex, even though she was like, "We're not having sex," and then they had sex. So her rules are incredibly broken at this point.
Well, it had been about 3 chapters without anything frisky, so
Right.
they went all in. And this one is probably one of the more graphic ones, I think.
It's something.
Definitely.
It's something. So that takes us to the end of the section. So when we return for the next episode, we will be covering 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And that will finish off the book of Curves and Cradles. It's weird because after the thank you for reading, it says excerpt from Curves and Cars. And apparently there is another book called Curves and Cars instead of Curves and Cradles. So by Kat Baxter.
I really hope it's this. Okay.
And
We'll
I don't know.
Curvy Girl Romance.
So maybe we'll take a look at that next time and see if it's worth looking at. But we also want to. Here's what we should do, Salty Dalton. So we'll figure this out before we record next time. But on that episode, we will have narrowed it down to 3 options for our next book for the book club, and we will put up maybe a poll under the episode description for after next episode. We'll put up a poll and people can vote. We'll put 3 possible titles that we'll read next, and we'll let people vote on what they think we should read next, and then we'll just decide what we actually want to do. But we'll give the people the idea that they're going to have the power of choice on the next book for the Bad Book Club. How about that?
The power of choice. I love it.
Yeah, we'll give them some options. We'll look through. We'll find out some options, and because we got to keep this going now. Because here's the thing about this book. This is not. We have read wilder, worse books than this. This is not. Granted, look, this isn't a great book. This isn't even a good book. But this is not. We can find worse than this. I think we can find This is basically just softcore porn disguised as a story. They're like, we need she's like, we need some sort of plot, in between the sex. We need like a plot. But we'll see. We'll find some options.
She Googled Navy SEAL and J.Crew model.
That's exactly.
And then also had a porn site open and just went to town.
And that's pretty much it. So we'll be returning for another episode soon. Subscribe to the show.
Yeah, only a couple chapters left. I think it's like 3 or 4. They're pretty quick.
There's 6 left.
We'll get to 6 left?
6 left.
Oh, well, we'll get to a pretty good resolution. I think probably.
I'm excited. I have not read ahead, so
right?
I don't know what's going to happen next. I have not read ahead, so I'm
You're in
excited.
for a treat.
I'm excited. Rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Besides that, sayonara, my sweet, sweet suckers.
We outie. You did that in one go. I'm so proud of you. That was the first time you didn't mess it up.